Okay, sit yourself onto a lift. Come into a good cross-leg position, and then just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you are sitting evenly, and that both seat bones feel level and evenly placed. Just have a little wriggle about. If necessary, just roll over and move the buttock flesh out to the side. Just spend a moment or two just to establish yourself on your sitting bones. Just hold onto your knees. Take deep inhalations into both lungs, deep exhalations out of both lungs. Hold onto your knees and just use that pressure on your knees to help lift the heart area up to the ceiling. So long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Softening the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Just look down at the floor. Look at something that's not moving. Keep your eyes still in the sockets, and it will help to quieten a busy mind. Just focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Just after a little while, just observe whether you are at level and readjust if necessary. And then bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms firmly together, lengthen from your armpits into your elbows into the heels of the hands. And then allow your eyes to gently close. Just fill the lungs from the bottom to the top and empty them from the top to the bottom. And following the breath with an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Lift the chest up to meet the chin. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, holding onto that feeling of abundance in the heart area. And then raise your head, allowing your eyes to softly open. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, elevating your heart area up to the ceiling, really giving yourself lift in the heart area, in the chest, so that you wake up the energy of the body. Take a deep inhalation, and then with a following exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders, just keeping your neck still and soft, making the effort to turn the abdomen so that your belly button is pointing at that right knee and beyond it. And then come back to the center. Hold on to your knees, lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the left. Draw your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. Just listen to the breath. Take a deep inhalation and come back to center, and just re-establish yourself on the in with level seat bones. Just lift up into the chest. We're just going to do a couple of rounds of Brahmari, just to kind of give the body that energy of the resonance of your voice. So several cycles of just normal breathing, normal inhalation, normal exhalations, just focusing on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. So remember that Brahmari is an extended out breath, but you hum the breath, and you hum the breath until the lungs feel empty, and then a normal in-breath to follow. So we'll do several cycles. So just take a normal out breath, a normal in-breath, and then we'll begin. We'll do 3 or 4. You can close your eyes if you want. And then just back to normal breathing, just completing the cycle that you are currently working with. Just retaining the resonance. Just observing where the resonance lay most. Maybe it was on one side of the chest than on the other. Just observe how the resonance of the chest feels and try and spread that sensation of the resonance over the entire lungs if it feels like it was over just one side more than the other. So distribute that feeling of positive energy throughout the entire upper chest cavity. And then come off your lift. Just come onto all fours. Just have your hands as wide apart as your mat. Spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Turn your toes under and then staying right up on the tiptoes. Just come up into dog down. Just observe how your body reacts to the pose this morning. And then slowly straighten the legs. Lifting the seat bones, lifting the tailbone, drawing the shoulder blades in, keeping the front chest lifted, keeping the heart area lifted. Activating the legs, pressing the fronts of the thighs into the backs of the thighs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying them from the top to the bottom. Just using the sensations of the pose to observe your balance of action from the inside. Keep your hands where they are, keep your feet where they are, swing your hips forward, up into dog up. Keeping the legs away from the floor, lifting the front chest, turning the crease of the elbows to face the front. And then come back up into dog down. Breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. And then come back into dog up. But this time, rather than staying on the tiptoes, point your toes and come onto the tops of the feet. But keep the shins off the floor, keep the thighs off the floor. Rotate the fronts of the thighs inward so that you soften in the tailbone region. Draw the tailbone in, lift up into the chest. Keep the kneecaps tightened. And then turn your toes under. And then come back up into dog down. Just listening to the breath, listening to the body. Okay, and then step the feet forwards, come up into the standing position, and then get your blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. And then bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. So lining the edge of the foot with the edge of the mat. So often when I'm in classes with people in face to face, I always say to kind of precisely lay the feet down on the floor, but it's amazing how many people think that kind of just having the heel away from the edge of the mat is lining the feet up with the edge of the mat. So it's really precise because it turns the toes inwards. And then it starts the action of releasing the hips, because we're going to do a forward bend for Uttanasana. So the thighs need to turn inwards. So turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Feel how that makes you press the big toe side of the foot into the floor a little more. So stamp the neck of the big toe into the floor, stretch into the head of the big toe, and then stretch out into the little toes. So turning the thighs gives you that consciousness of the big toe, but to a degree it gives you too much of that action, and it makes you drop the insteps. So while turning the fronts of the thighs, see if you can push the inner knees away from each other. So you'll lose some of that heaviness in the big toe, but you'll still be able to maintain that big toe action. Have your hands on your hips, lift up into the heart area, keep the head lifted, attentive to the heart, and then hinge at the hips. Keeping the elbows winging back. So this is a good way to come into half Uttanasana if you've got a bad back. Less strain on your back. And then bring the blocks underneath your shoulders. Tighten the kneecaps. Lift the fronts of the thighs up to the top of the leg. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Lift the seat bones up to the ceiling and project the chin and the chest forwards. Be inside the breath. Observe how the inhalation and the exhalation fill the lungs and expand the lungs as they do. Endeavour to breathe evenly into both lungs. So have the hands at least shoulder width apart to give the chest the space to expand. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. If you can go down any lower without losing the projection of the spine, without losing the action of the legs, then go down lower. If you can reach down to the floor without losing any of that action, or resetting the action once you get there, then do. Always lifting the heart area, keeping the head attentive to the heart. And then if you can, reach around the backs of your heels, keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the head lifted, driving the chest through the legs. And then bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Just have the inner edge of your feet together, lift up into the chest. Breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Remain soft in the jaw and in the tongue and in the throat. Just spend a moment just to be inside the breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step the feet nice and wide the feet at least as wide apart as your wrists if you stretch your arms out. Turn your left toes in slightly. And again, go back to that big toe. Really stamp that big toe into the floor. So this time we turn the leg from the inside out, which takes the weight away from the big toe, but that's what we want. So we turn this leg outwards, and then we can bring the outside edge of the foot down firmly. And that's what we want to remain as we go over to the side, rather than letting that become lighter. So turn that leg, keep that outside edge of the foot really firmly down, and then bend the other leg and turn the leg all the way out from the inside to the outside. So these legs are turning this way from the big toe side to the little toe side. Just make sure that the heel is in line with the big toe, with heel in line with the instep or the toes of that back foot. Just bring your hands onto your hips, lift up into the chest. Just feel where your hips are. Maybe they're kind of trying to turn towards that right leg. So bring them to the front. Bring them to the front and turn the thighs really consciously outwards. Lift up into the heart area. Just spend a few moments just observing the feet. Observing the outside edge of the feet. Observing the big toe side of the foot. Just feel that the feet are connecting to the ground. And then stretch out your arms and try not to disturb the way that the feet are connected to the ground as you come down. So inevitably, the right foot is likely to become heavier than the left. So you have to work that left leg, turn that thigh, keep that outside edge of the foot down on the floor. Turn the abdomen and the chest up to face the ceiling. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Look up if you can. Just observe how it helps to clear out the sinuses. So Brahmari helps to clear out the air in the sinuses that usually takes hours to distribute. This pose helps to clear out the sinuses. So just feel the outside edge of that back foot. Come back to the center. Just release your hands, swap your feet around, turn your right toes in and your left leg and foot all the way out. And then just straighten your legs. And again, but go back to the feet. Turn your legs inwards. Turn the fronts of the legs inwards and notice that the weight goes right into the big toe side of the foot, and the little toe side of the foot becomes lighter. And also, if you turn the legs inwards, the hips kind of really feel like they want to kind of come towards this way, because that's what you do with your legs when you bring your hips, kind of try and bring them level that way. But we don't want the weight on the big toe side of the foot. We want equal distribution into the outside edge of the foot. So turn, especially this back leg, turn it all the way out so that you can feel that outside edge of the foot. Do the same with the front leg, lift up into the chest, and then try not to disturb the balance of the feet as you come down. Just look up. Keeping the outside edge of the foot firmly down onto the floor. Spreading up into that top arm so that you're not collapsing into that left hand, you're reaching up into the sky. So if you struggle to come into dog down from here, then come back all the way up into the normal position and then jump the feet together. Otherwise, bring the top hand down. So you might need to bend that left hand that left knee, sorry, bring the hands either side of the foot, turn that back leg all the way out, and then step yourself back into dog down. Adho Mukha Svanasana. So just adjust until you feel even in the pose. Just work the legs until they feel evenly activated. Listen to the breath as it enters and as it exits. Breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top. From the top to the bottom. And then come down onto your knees. Just sit back on your heels for a moment. And then just allow your legs to release into the ground. So virasana is a really good solution to tired legs. So press the legs down into the floor. Lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area to the ceiling. Just listen to the breath. Observe the energy that you have released so far. And then come up onto all fours. And then have your hands under your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, and then stretch into the toes. So we can go into rajakapotasana, the pigeon pose. So just find your balance, find evenness of action. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. And then bring your right knee to make contact with the right wrist. Bring the right foot so that it's underneath the left thigh and the left hip. And then stretch that left leg towards the back of the room behind you. And then come up onto your fingertips. Rotate that that back leg from the little toe side to the big toe side, like you're doing Tadasana, so that the back of the thigh broadens out, so that the buttock stretches from the crease to the hip. And then lift up into the chest, lengthening into the toes, lengthening from the toes into the knee, into the bent knee, from the bent knee into the toes. Just breathing, even inhalations and exhalations. So from here, either just come out of the pose in the traditional way, or we can go back up into dog down. So if you're coming out of it in the traditional way, you walk in with that back leg and then just come back onto all fours. If you're coming into it from dog down, if you're coming back into dog down from here, you bring the palms of the hands down, the heels of the hands down. Turn the left toes in a little, walk them in towards the body, turn the toes under, and then push yourself up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Just breathe even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Just feeling the stretch out of the previous pose. Just aiming to keep your focus and attention on the physical sensations of the pose. And then come down onto your knees, just come back onto all fours. Lengthen the toes away from the knees, bringing the shins down. And then bring the left knee to make contact with the left wrist, bringing the left foot underneath the right thigh, and then stretch that right leg away as much as you can. And then stretch, bring the fingertips onto the floor, lifting the palms off the floor. Turn that back leg inwards, the front of the thigh, turn it from the little toe side to the big toe side so that the hips become level. Lift up into the chest, lengthen into the toes. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Turn the crease of the elbows to face the front. Just broaden the collarbone. And then bring the palms down onto the floor. And then turn your toes under, just walk in a little bit, come all the way up into the kind of just walk your way out of the pose if you're not going into the dog down, or from there, see if you can push yourself up into dog down, and then just observe how the body feels more even at the hips. Listen to the breath. Listen to the physical sensations of the pose. So we're more likely to be paying attention to the areas of resistance than to the areas of non-resistance, but we should pay equal heed to both so that we don't obsess about the discomfort and we draw our attention into areas where there is no discomfort. And it's not ignoring discomfort, it's acknowledging it, but then moving beyond it. That doesn't mean that we should push further than we're able. It just means that we should take in the entire sensation of the physical body rather than just the areas of resistance. Okay, and then just come down onto your knees, just sit back on your heels. And again, just observe your energy. Observe the lightness of the energy in the arms and in the chest. Softness of the jaw and of the tongue and of the throat. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then staying seated on the seat bones, come forwards into Adho Mukha virasana, just stretching intensely into the arms. Keeping the seat bones down on the heels if you possibly can, or you can put a folded blanket between the seat bones and the heels if you can't, or a block. And stretch into your arms. Just listen to the breath, drawing the tailbone down towards the heels. Lengthening from the hips into the armpits, into the elbows, the wrists, into the palms of the hands. Just listen to the breath. then just bring your hands underneath your shoulders, and then push yourself up into a seated position. Just again, elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing the shoulders down. Just observe the breath. So stay seated back on your heels if you can. You can always come into cross legs if it's uncomfortable, but stay in this virasana shape. So Kat, you said you had a headache this week, so we're going to do the garudasana arms, which is a good way of releasing tension from a headache. So just stretch your arm, so stay sitting on your seat bones, and then lift up into the heart area, stretching your arms down to the floor. Lifting up into the chest. And then stretch your arms out in front, and then bring them out to the sides of the room. Spread in the palms. Just as you keep your arms out spread, observe how you can breathe into the side ribs. So you can breathe into the side ribs with more space. And then bring your arms to the front, and then let the right hand cross under the left hand, and then keep crossing the hands over, and then get hold of the shoulders. So just keep creeping the fingers towards each other behind your back, so that your elbows overshoot. And then again, lift the heart area. So your bottom elbow should have overshot the top. So keep creeping the hands towards each other, and then keep your elbow, the upper elbow, in the crease of the other elbow, and then lift the bottom elbow up. The right hand, lift it up to the ceiling. So the bottom elbow, the right elbow, up to the ceiling, and then stretch that left hand out. Turn the palm up to face the ceiling, and then try and bring the palms together. If you can't get hold of the palms, I can't really do it very well, but if you can't get hold of the palms, get hold of the thumb. Just see where you can bring some pressure between the palms. And then lengthen from the elbows into the fingertips. And then draw the forearms away from the face. Soften the neck. Listen to the breath. Feel that you can breathe evenly into both lungs. And then gently uncoil. Just feel all that space in your shoulders. Just letting your arms just hang down to the side for a moment without extending them. Just feeling the lightness of the arms. And then consciously extend into the fingertips, arms at the sides. Lifting the heart area up to the ceiling. And then stretch your arms out to the side. And again, just observing how you can expand the lower ribs with the in-breath. And then bring your hands out in front. This time, cross the left hand underneath the right hand, and then get hold of the shoulders. Try and creep fingers towards each other behind the back. Lift up into the chest. Keep creeping the fingers towards each other, really prizing open the shoulder blades. And then the bottom arm, so the left arm, reach that arm to a right angle up to the ceiling, and then the other arm, straighten the arm, palm facing up to the ceiling, and then try and bring the palms together as much as you can. And then lengthen from the elbows into the fingertips. Draw the forearms away from the face. Keep the neck soft, breathe in through the nose, expanding into the side ribs. Fill the lungs evenly on both sides. Empty the lungs evenly on both sides. Okay, and then just uncoil, just let your arms just hang to the sides of the body for a moment. Just feeling the lightness of the arms, the openness of the shoulders. And then just lengthen from the shoulders into the fingertips, lifting up into the chest, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms so that the palm skin really stretches. And then turn the palms all the way out, rotating the upper arms in the socket. Broad, see if you can bring the backs of your hands towards each other, behind your back. Lifting up into the heart area, so you're really broadening the chest. And then release your hands, just come up onto your knees, and then just come up into dog down. Just one more dog down, just to refresh your legs, because they've been in virasana for quite a while. So just let your legs gently refresh. Post virasana dog down is a good one for bringing the heels down, but just observe your dog down. Observe how the feet are feeling, how the legs are feeling, and then just stretching out the calves by bringing the heels down to the floor. So we normally resist bringing the heels down, because if you notice, there are probably now creases at the back, at the fronts of the ankles. So that means that we're not really lifting our legs, we're not extending our legs appropriately. But it's a good way of stretching out of virasana. Just stretch out those calf muscles. So you still push the calf muscle, push the shin bone into the calf. But notice that with the heels down, it's actually really hard to activate the thighs as keenly as you would normally. Okay, and then come down onto your knees. And then just sit yourself in cross legs. Just come into a good cross leg position. Just hold on to your knees, elevating your heart area upwards. Just take deep inhalations and exhalations. Hold on to your knees, lift up into the chest. Just make sure that you feel evenly placed with the seat bones. And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across the ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the heart area. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. And then gently come back to the center. Just observe that lightness of energy radiating through the physical body, almost tingling into the skin. And then come down to your back and up into setubandha. If you're not doing setubandha, you can do viparita karani, holding onto the edges of the mat, lifting the legs to the ceiling. Otherwise, pull the feet towards the seat bones. Just lift the seat bones up off the floor and then come right up onto the tops of the shoulders. Gather in the shoulder blades as you do, and then bring the brick into the tailbone region, sacrum area of the back. Just make sure that it feels balanced and even. And then you either stay with bent knees, or if your back feels okay, you can stretch into one leg, bring it back, stretch into the other, bring it back, and if you can stretch into both heels. Pull the toes towards your kneecaps. Listen to the breath. Long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Okay, and then just bring your feet back to the block, and then lift the tailbone up off the floor, and then just adjust your shoulders as you remove the block and bring the feet back down onto the floor, and then just draw your knees in towards the chest, just grinding your back into the floor, just eking out any tension in your back. Just listening to the sound of the breath, feeling that release in the lumbar. And then just roll over, sit yourself up, and then just get yourself a blanket for your head. Make sure you've got enough room to stretch out if you can. Just sit down, just lay down right down the center of your mat. And then just allow the body to release into the floor. Just allowing the legs to release, allowing the arms and the chest to completely let go. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Just allow the muscles of the arms and the legs to completely let go. Observe as you relax that feeling of energetic lightness that radiates out from the muscles and into the out from the bones and into the muscles and into the organs, filling the body with positive lightness, into the organs and the flesh and the skin. And when you're ready, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana, drawing your knees in toward your chest. Just open your eyes if you haven't done yet. Just bring yourself back into the room. Just have another just gentle wriggle on the seat bones, on the lower back. And then roll over to your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg. Come back up into a seated position. Just come into cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down to your knees, palms facing upwards. Have the index finger and the middle finger and the thumb, index finger and the thumb in contact, stretching the index finger and the ring finger and the little finger away. Just gesture of peacefulness, which we can take into our everyday lives. And then gently open up, rise, and then bring the hands back into Namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've woken yourself up, you've given yourself a good stretch, and you've given yourself lots of good energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.